What's up, guys? Welcome to the Tales of Gear channel, and this is our first top 10 video. I am the devil inside. So with the Final Fantasy VII Remake looming on the horizon, it got me thinking about some franchises that I would like to see brought back. So here it is, my top 10 franchises I would like to see rebooted. At number 10, we have the game Summoner. Summoner was a very early release for the PlayStation 2. Graphically, this game has not aged well. However, the gameplay and storyline on it are solid. You get to play as Joseph, a summoner. Unlike most RPG characters, he always knew what was going to happen to him. His village being destroyed did not surprise him. He knew it was coming. Basically, it just marked the beginning of the journey he always knew he was going to go on. Now, along the way, you do get to pick up followers. You don't necessarily get to control them. You can control their tendencies through the menu. You also get to summon creatures. Best part about it is these monsters deal massive damage and can save your life when you get into some of the later hectic dungeons. Now, for this game, I just want to see a remake, a graphical overhaul. Don't tweak the story, don't tweak the battle system. Let people experience the game as it was originally meant to be experienced. I highly recommend, though, if you do have a PlayStation 2, pick this game up. It is not expensive. Alright, guys, at number 9, I have the Need for Speed Underground franchise. Now, the Need for Speed games are still coming out, but Underground was very different from the modern Need for Speed games. The new Need for Speed games are very narrative driven, less about creativity. They've taken a lot of the race modes out. Underground had a great variety, great creative system. You could basically customize a car to look like anything you wanted. Your only limitation was your imagination. You know, the magazine cover functions and stuff like that were very, very cool. The more money you earn, the better cars you can unlock, the more badass experience you can have. Now for this, I would like to see a sequel, not necessarily a remake, but I just want more of Need for Speed Underground. So for number 8, we're going back a little more old school, going to the Genesis era. Side-scrolling beat-em-ups back in that day and age were my go-to. You know, you had Hyperstone Heist, you had Turtles in Time, but the best one was Streets of Rage. Streets of Rage was very, very good. Every character had their own moveset, their own distinguishing personality, and it made it great. Storyline was pretty generic for every beat-em-up, though. The boss fights were great. The enemies were great and pretty diverse. I would like to see this game remade with modern graphics, but stick to the 2D platform. It's working very well for Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. I would like to see more of these games made like this, just to have an old experience with modern graphics. So at number 7, we have Streets of Rage direct competition, and that is Final Fight. It was really, really hard for me to decide which one goes where, basically because I hold them on equal footing. The only reason Final Fight wins out is because the characters are more fresh. Mike Hagar's in Marvel vs. Capcom, Cody and Guy are in the Street Fighter games. Now, that being said, much like Streets of Rage, I would like to see this remade. Modern graphics, 2D side-scrolling style. Capcom was very, very good at this type of game. They made a dozen classics in this format. It's time to bring it back. At number 6, we have a game called Obscure. It was released for the PlayStation 2. It is a survival horror game. I love this game because it's kind of like a mashup of two of my greatest loves. It's like playing a Resident Evil game while being stuck in an 80s slasher film. I know that sounds weird, but it was really, really good. It had a very unique dynamic to it, though, in that when a character died, they were dead. There was no bringing them back. It altered the story. Whoever survived, survived, and you got an ending based on that. Now, the sequel was 2 years later at a college. The similar parasite has taken over and has come back to haunt these kids at this college. If you had a save file from the original, you got to implement that into the sequel. If not, you got the generic storyline that they chose, bringing the most characters back. I like the sequel a little bit more, and I typically don't say this about games, but I do like the sequel a little bit more. The gameplay was a little bit better, the camera angles were better, and all in all, it was just a more enjoyable experience. Now, I would like to see this game brought back and get the treatment that the original Resident Evil did. Don't really fiddle with the controls. Just update the graphics and let people experience the story. This was a very, very niche game, and I recommend you pick it up. All right, at number 5 we have Legends of Dragoon. It is my favorite type of game, a turn-based RPG. It was released late in the life cycle of the PS1, which gave it a few unique qualities that you don't find in PS1 games. Every cutscene was voiced. And even in battle, you still had small samples of characters' voices in it. Had a very unique battle system in that the additions, it wasn't your standard click attack, they go strike them. Everything was timing based. The more you could strike the square at the right time, the longer the addition got, the more powerful the attack became. Once you transformed into a Dragoon, you had the ability to use magic. This game was very difficult in that you could only carry 30 items, so your magic and your guarding and your timing on everything became very, very important. As for the story, the main character's name is Dart. His hometown when he was a child was destroyed by something called the Black Monster. When you meet him in the game, he is coming back from a 2-year journey for revenge, trying to find the Black Monster, only to find that his new hometown has been burnt to the ground and his childhood friend has been taken to the nastiest prison on the face of the earth. If they remade this game, I would just want to see a modern upgrade. Don't mess with the battle system. There was absolutely nothing wrong with it, and every character was relevant. It's very rare in an RPG, especially in Final Fantasies. I'm looking directly at you, Prompto. So at number 4, we have Super Mario RPG. Now, I know they have made games of this title, but it is not Super Mario RPG. I am talking about the original that was a collaboration with Squaresoft. Because of the rift that was built between Squaresoft and Nintendo when Square decided to put Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation, you don't get to see these characters, these great characters like Go-Go, come back. They were only in this game and exclusively to this game. My only thing is, Nintendo, go apologize to Squaresoft, make this remake happen so everybody can enjoy this game once again. Alright, at number 3, shockingly enough, it is a sports game. I want to see Tony Hawk's Pro Skater remade. It's not necessarily because this generation is missing anything, which it kind of is. Tony Hawk was one of those games that on the weekend, you and your buddies would crowd around the TV and play. For me, that is what gaming was all about. That was the social experience of it. A bunch of kids gathered around the TV yelling at each other while they played a game. I miss those days. You can bring this back. If you wanted to do a remake or even a new installment in the series, every game had classic tracks or parts, whatever you want to call them, that you could pick and choose, make a nice little compilation and give us a new game for people to experience. But make co-op more fun. Screw online with this game. Just make it to where people have to interact on the couch again.
They're more trouble than they're worth.
So at number 2, we have Champions of Norath. This is a dungeon crawler, much like Diablo. I loved this game. I am not a big fan of the EverQuest game that came before it, but this game was amazing. And the sequel was just more dungeon crawling goodness. Now, if they were to remake it, I'd kind of like to smash the two together because they were just a continuation of the same game, but the sequel brought 3 new races that you could play as. You could import your characters from the previous game into the new one. Or even give me a sequel with some more races and a little bit more playability. I love this game. There were hours upon hours we had. Great bosses, great layouts, massive amounts of enemies, massive amounts of power-ups, abilities. If you're going to remake it, Diablo 3 is a good model to take into account. Give each level a massive, sprawling, continuous experience, high definition graphics, and of course, make sure the story is on point. Alright, so before I get into my number one game, I have a couple of honorable mentions that just missed this list for a couple of reasons. Either A, the company no longer exists that made the games, or B, the company's just being a douchebag. Konami. Anyway, my first honorable mention is Carmen San Diego series. It was an educational game back in the day. It was actually so popular that it spawned a cartoon, and you didn't really know that you were learning because you were having fun.
Halt!
My second honorable mention is going to be Castlevania. Yeah, I know it's not going to happen. Fuck Konami. Anyway, Lords of Shadow 2 didn't happen. I want to see a remake of the original with Simon Belmont, Dracula's Castle, the whole nine. And my third and final honorable mention is Zombies Ate My Neighbors. It was a very bizarre game, but I like bizarre, and I've played a lot of them. This one was actually entertaining. It wasn't bizarre as bad. It was like one long acid trip mixed with zombies and Ren and Stimpy. So finally, here we are at number one. As much as I bash Sega for Streets of Rage, I gotta tell you, this is gonna be so much worse. With the way they have treated Sonic the Hedgehog on these last couple of platforms, it is a joke. It's disgusting. I didn't know if they were screwing with us, or if this was a rushed release, or they just wanted to spit in our face.
Think of our history.
But it is sad to see one of the true icons of gaming treated this way. He is up there with Mario, okay? Back when gaming first hit its real big swing in the 90s, you had two icons. You had a fat plumber in a red suit and a blue hedgehog in red Nikes.
So, you like it to go fast, huh?
They have absolutely crapped on the legacy of the blue hedgehog. Okay? I mean, it is terrible. So, for this game, reboot, remake, sequel, I don't care. Do it right. So there you have it, my top 10 games I would like to see rebooted or remade. If you like what you saw, guys, please like, share, and subscribe, and don't be afraid to comment below. Of any list you want to see me do, any game you want me to review or talk about. This is a very fan-driven channel. You're in the driver's seat. Tell me how I can entertain you. You guys are still here? It's the button right there. Come on, subscribe. You know you want. Stand up and stretch. Oh, God. Oh, that's so nice.